The night was quiet in Ouagadougou, but something felt wrong. Before we begin, take a second and tell me something. What country are you watching this from right now? What time is it where you are? Drop a comment below, and if you value deep, meaningful stories like this one, like the video, subscribe and stay with us. This is not just a story about power. It is not about luxury or comfort. It is about a decision that exposed a crime hidden in plain sight. The day Traore refused a luxury hotel, no one understood why. But what he discovered because of that refusal would shock an entire nation. Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood beside the black government vehicle as the hotel manager spoke enthusiastically. The building behind them was tall, modern and shining under the evening lights. Imported marble floors, private elevators, presidential suites reserved only for heads of state. The manager smiled confidently. "Everything is ready, Mr. President. This is the safest and most comfortable place in the city." Traoré did not smile back. He looked up at the building, then down at the ground, then slowly across the street where ordinary people passed without noticing anything special. He had learned long ago that danger rarely announces itself. It hides behind clean walls and polite smiles. "No," Traoré said quietly. The word caught everyone off guard. The hotel manager blinked. Security officers exchanged looks. Even his personal aide shifted uncomfortably. "Sir?" the manager asked. "This hotel meets all international standards." Traoré's voice stayed calm. "I will stay at the military guest house." There was silence. The military guest house was modest. No luxury suites, no private chefs, no gold-plated furniture. His aide leaned closer. "Sir, this hotel was approved weeks ago. The security checks were cleared." Traoré looked at him carefully. "That is exactly why I won't stay here." The decision seemed small, almost insignificant. But sometimes history turns on moments like this. That night, as Traoré sat alone in the guest house room, the ceiling fan turning slowly above him, he replayed the scene in his mind. It was not logic that troubled him. It was instinct. He had noticed things others missed. The way the hotel manager avoided eye contact when finances were mentioned. The unusual presence of private security mixed with civilian staff. The fact that renovations had been rushed, yet some floors were still restricted. Traoré had survived battlefields, ambushes, and betrayals. He trusted his instincts more than reports. At midnight, he called his chief of security. "Tell me about the hotel again," Traoré said. The officer hesitated. "Everything appears clean, sir. Ownership is through a local holding company." "And before that?" Traoré asked. A pause. "Records before 5 years ago are incomplete." Traoré thanked him and ended the call. Incomplete records were not mistakes. They were choices. The next morning, Traoré attended official meetings as planned. He listened. He spoke. He smiled when required. But he watched. His personal driver, a man named Issa, had been with him for over 3 years. Reliable, quiet, always respectful. Yet that morning, Issa seemed nervous. He checked his phone repeatedly. When Traoré asked him to adjust the route, Issa hesitated for a moment too long. Small details, easy to ignore. Traoré did not ignore them. That evening, Traoré asked casually, "Issa, where do you live now?" Issa answered quickly, too quickly. "Same place, sir, nothing changed." Traoré nodded but made a mental note. Nothing stays the same when people start hiding things. Over the next 2 days, Traoré quietly requested background checks. Not formal investigations, just questions. Who funded the hotel renovations? Why did certain staff rotate every few months? Why were deliveries arriving late at night? The answers did not align. One report mentioned a private transport company connected to the hotel. Another mentioned rural routes near the border. A third mentioned missing persons cases that had never been connected to anything. Individually, they meant nothing. Together, they formed a pattern. On the 4th night, Traoré made a decision. He would follow his driver. Not officially, not with security. Alone. That night, Traoré told Issa he would work late. He dismissed the security convoy. Only Issa remained. The city lights faded as they drove farther from the center. Issa's phone buzzed once, then twice. He did not answer. Traoré watched the road ahead through the windshield, his reflection faintly visible in the glass. After dropping Traoré at the guest house, Issa drove away. Traoré waited 10 minutes. Then he stepped into an unmarked vehicle parked nearby. He followed at a distance. Issa drove toward the outskirts of the city, past neighborhoods, past markets, into areas where streetlights thinned. After nearly 40 minutes, Issa turned onto a dirt road. Traore slowed, turning his headlights off. The road led to a compound surrounded by walls. No signs, no markings, only movement. Traore parked behind trees and continued on foot. Voices drifted through the air. Low, urgent. He crept closer, staying hidden. Through a gap in the wall, he saw vehicles unloading crates. Men with lists. A woman arguing quietly with a guard. And then he saw them. Children. Not crying, not screaming, just silent. Too silent. They were being moved from one building to another. Small hands holding each other, eyes trained on the ground. Traore felt something tighten in his chest. This was not coincidence. This was not corruption alone. This was organized evil, and it was connected to the hotel he had refused. He took photos, recorded audio, counted vehicles. Then he left. He did not confront anyone. He did not call anyone. Not yet, because leaders who act too fast save no one. Back in his room, Traore sat in darkness until dawn. He had refused a luxury hotel, and in doing so he had walked straight into a hidden crime. By morning, he knew one thing with certainty. This was bigger than one driver, bigger than one hotel, and it would require patience, precision, and absolute silence. The sun rose over Ouagadougou like nothing had changed. Traffic moved, markets opened, radios played music. But for Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the country felt different now. By dawn, he had already made 3 secure calls. Not to ministers, not to politicians, only to men whose loyalty had been tested under fire. He sent them the photos and audio he had recorded. No explanations. Just one message. Watch carefully, say nothing, move slowly. By mid-morning, his inner circle gathered in a small briefing room inside the military headquarters. No flags, no cameras, no assistants. They watched the footage in silence. A senior intelligence officer broke it first. This is trafficking, he said, organized, protected. Traoré nodded, and connected to the hotel. Another officer zoomed in on a vehicle plate. This transport company shows up in missing person reports going back 4 years. The room went quiet. Traoré leaned forward. If we move now, they scatter, he said. We save some children and lose the rest forever. So what's the plan? Someone asked. We wait, Traoré replied, and we learn everything. That afternoon, Traoré returned to routine appearances. Speeches, handshakes, meetings. His driver Issa acted normal again. Too normal, he joked. He smiled. He avoided Traoré's eyes. That night, surveillance teams followed Issa quietly. They tracked calls, mapped routes, identified contacts. Within days, the picture sharpened. The luxury hotel was not just a hotel. Certain floors were sealed off. Renovations had created hidden access points. Rooms were booked under false names. The hotel was a transit point. Children were moved from rural areas to the compound Traoré had seen. From there, some were sent across borders. Others disappeared into labor networks. Money moved cleanly. Shell companies, foreign accounts. Local officials paid to stay blind. And Issa, the trusted driver, was the connector. He knew schedules. He knew routes. He knew when security would be thin. Traoré watched Issa closely during the following week. Once, Issa mentioned the hotel casually. Still available if you change your mind, sir. Traoré looked at him for a long moment. No, he said, I'm comfortable where I am. Issa nodded, but his jaw tightened. That night, Traoré followed again. This time, Issa met a man Traoré recognized from the hotel management team. They exchanged documents. Cash changed hands. There was no doubt left. Still, Traoré did not move. Instead, he expanded the net. Financial units traced payments. Border units flagged transport routes. Undercover officers posed as labor recruiters. The scale was worse than expected. 5 compounds, 3 border corridors, dozens of collaborators, and children. So many children. One report stopped Traoré cold. A boy, approximately 12, had been moved twice but never transferred onward. He resisted. He refused to obey. He spoke back. The traffickers called him the Loud One. Traoré memorized that note. By the end of the 2nd week, everything was in place. Every location mapped, every suspect identified, every escape route blocked. Traoré gathered his commanders again. At dawn, he said, we end this. No speeches, no applause, just resolve. That night, Traoré did not sleep. He thought about the hotel lights, the quiet children, the driver who smiled every morning, and he thought about the price of hesitation. At 4:58 a.m., Traoré gave the order. Go. Across the country, vehicles moved at once. The hotel was sealed first, security neutralized quietly. Rooms breached floor by floor. Then the compounds. Gates fell. Guards surrendered. Some ran. None escaped. At the main compound, soldiers found the children huddled together. One boy stood in front of the others, thin, defiant. He did not cry. When Traore entered the room, the boy looked straight at him. "Are you here to take us somewhere else?" the boy asked. Traore knelt down. "No," he said. "I'm here to take you home." The boy stared for a long second. Then he nodded. Outside, Issa was pulled from his car, shouting that this was a mistake, that he was loyal, that he knew nothing. Traore walked past him without a word. Some betrayals do not deserve explanation. By noon, the story broke. By evening, the nation watched in silence. And in one small shelter on the edge of the city, a boy who had been called the Loud One slept peacefully for the first time in months. By the time the sun reached its highest point, the country already knew something historic had happened. Roads near the luxury hotel were sealed. Military vehicles surrounded buildings people had passed every day without suspicion. Phones buzzed with messages. Radios repeated the same phrase again and again. A major security operation is underway. Inside a secured military facility on the edge of Ouagadougou, the interrogations began. Issa sat alone in a small concrete room. No windows. One table. One chair. For the first hour, no one spoke to him. This silence was deliberate. Men like Issa expected shouting, threats, pressure. Instead, he got nothing. When the door finally opened, Traore walked in alone. No uniform jacket, no medals, just a calm face and tired eyes. Issa tried to stand. The guards pushed him back down. Traore sat across from him. For a long moment, he said nothing. Issa's confidence began to crack. "You made a mistake," Issa said quickly. "You don't understand." "I understand," Traore interrupted quietly. He placed a tablet on the table and turned it around. Photos, videos, transaction records. Issa's hands started to shake. "You knew my schedule," Traore continued. "You knew when my security changed. You knew which roads were clear." Issa swallowed. "I was forced," he said. "They would have killed my family." Traore leaned forward. "Then why were you paid more each month?" Issa froze. There are moments when lies collapse under their own weight. This was one of them. Within hours, Issa talked. He named names. He described routes. He explained how the hotel was chosen because no one would suspect a luxury place tied to foreign investors. He admitted he recruited others, drivers, clerks, guards. Across the facility, other interrogations unfolded. Some suspects denied everything. Some begged. Some stayed silent. But the evidence spoke for them. Financial trails led to senior officials. Phone records linked commanders to transport routes. Witness testimony filled in the rest. By nightfall, more than 60 arrests had been confirmed. Traore addressed the nation from a simple room, not the palace. He stood behind a plain desk. "My fellow citizens," he said, "today we uncovered a crime that hid in plain sight." He did not dramatize it. He did not exaggerate. He spoke clearly. Children were stolen, sold, moved like cargo. His jaw tightened. This happened because some people believed power would protect them. He paused. They were wrong. Across Burkina Faso, families listened in silence. Some cried. Some prayed. Some realized with horror that the missing child from their village might be among the rescued. The following days were relentless. Court proceedings began immediately. Judges were reassigned. Foreign pressure was ignored. Legal teams worked around the clock. Issa was brought before the court first. He looked smaller now. The confidence was gone. Witnesses spoke. A mother described how her son vanished on his way to school. A boy testified without tears, his voice steady but hollow. An accountant explained how money was laundered through the hotel. Issa avoided eye contact. The verdict came fast. Life imprisonment. No parole. When the sentence was read, there was no applause. Only relief. Others followed. Hotel executives, border officials, security officers. Rank did not matter. One senior official tried to claim ignorance. Traore personally ordered his arrest during the trial. "No one sits above the law," he said. Meanwhile, the children were moved to secure shelters. Doctors treated wounds that could heal. Counselors addressed wounds that could not be seen. One boy stayed close to Traore whenever he visited. The same boy who had asked if they were being moved again. His name was Amadou. He did not speak much, but when Traore left, Amadou always waved. One evening, Traore stopped and asked him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Amadou thought for a long time. "Someone who stops bad people," he said. Traore nodded. "So do I." The country was changing. New laws passed within weeks. Luxury developments were audited. Transport companies were relicensed under strict oversight. And one symbolic decision was announced. The luxury hotel would not reopen. Instead, it would become a national child protection center, a place of healing, a place of truth. As the gates closed on the old operation, something else opened. Trust. Not blind trust, but earned trust. And in quiet rooms across the country, parents held their children tighter than before. The reunions did not happen all at once. They never do. Names had to be verified, villages located, families traced through dusty records and fading memories. For some parents, hope had already died. So when the first convoy arrived in a small northern village just after sunrise, no one expected miracles. A woman washing clothes by the roadside looked up when she heard the engine. She squinted against the dust. Then she dropped to her knees. "Amadou," she whispered. The boy stepped down slowly, thinner, older in the eyes, but alive. She ran to him without sound, as if afraid noise would break the moment. She touched his face, his arms, his shoulders. Only when she felt his heartbeat did she cry. All across Burkina Faso, scenes like this unfolded. Fathers who had searched for years stood frozen, unable to move. Mothers collapsed into tears. Grandparents whispered prayers they had been saving. Not every story had a perfect ending. Some children had no one left. Some villages no longer existed. For them, the state became family. Traore ordered permanent care programs, education, counseling, trade training, not charity, responsibility. Weeks later, the trials concluded. 84 convictions, 0 pardons. International pressure arrived quietly, then loudly. Traore ignored it. "This is not politics," he said. "This is protection." The final symbolic act came without warning. The former luxury hotel reopened its gates, but not for tourists. Its marble floors now echoed with children's footsteps. Its chandeliers hung above classrooms. Its guarded entrances welcomed families. A sign stood at the gate. This building once hid crimes. Now it guards futures. On the opening day, Traore stood beside Amadou. Cameras waited. Traore waved them away. This moment was not for the world. It was for the child. "Are you afraid?" Traore asked quietly. Amadou shook his head. "I know where I am now," he said. That night, Traore returned home without ceremony. He sat alone. No speeches, no flags, only silence. Leadership, he knew, was not about power. It was about noticing what others ignore, acting when it is costly, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Sometimes the greatest decisions are the ones no one sees. And sometimes, refusing a luxury hotel saves a nation's soul.